Welcome everybody to our final project showcase for the month of March. My name is Michelle Pathay. I am a community manager at Flatiron School, and it is a true honor and a pleasure to be emceeing our event this evening. You will be hearing from 5 Flatiron School graduates, recent graduates, I'll say, over the course of the next hour in programs like software engineering and product design. These recent grads will be showcasing some of the work that they completed in the final phases of their Flatiron School program. So they'll be walking you through their final projects. There will be time for some Q&A. So I am going to let y'all know that if any questions do come up during any of the presentations, don't be shy. Feel free to go to your Zoom toolbar and click that Q&A button at the bottom and drop any questions that you have in there. And I will do my best to make sure that we get to everybody's questions by the end of this event. Before we jump into presentations, I do want to drop just a couple of links for folks into the chat. First one is the events page on the Flatiron School website. If you enjoyed this event and you want to kind of stay connected with us and keep coming back, you can find all of our upcoming events there. And if you are maybe just here to check things out, considering making a career change, considering Flatiron School, I'm going to drop a couple of links right now to connect you to our admissions team, who can kind of help you walk through that application process if you are interested in coming to one of our programs. All right, so with all of that taken care of, I am very excited to invite Becca Jonas up to the stage, software engineering grad presenting her project, Lifty. Becca, take it away.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I am going to go ahead and present my application, Lifty. And I'm New York City based right now, just wrapped up at Flatiron School. But prior to that, I spent 4 years living in Utah. And I am a snowboarder, and I can attest that Utah does, in fact, have the greatest snow on earth. But one thing that Utah doesn't necessarily brag about is that the Salt Lake Valley has some of the worst air quality in the United States. A lot of this has to do with geography, but nonetheless, it can be some of the worst in the nation, and on particularly bad days, some of the worst in the world. So like I said, a lot of this has to do with geography, but humans make it worse by driving their cars and idling their cars. And so you have this problem of air quality, and then you have, especially in the winter, and then you have this problem with skiers and snowboarders sitting in traffic lines just like this. And they are trying to get up the mountain, and it's these dual edges kind of competing with each other. So I wanted to create an app, and this is where the idea connected or came to me, was sitting in traffic line and thinking, if there was just a way for me to connect with other skiers and snowboarders and we could just ride together, and it would be so much easier and mitigate so many problems. So enter Lifty. Let's dive into the demo. So once you get logged in, you are presented with a ride feed that shows you other Lifty users who have offered to drive people up to various snow ski resorts in Utah. So it gives you all the necessary details. You can go ahead and click and it'll expand those. Shows you the exact route you're taking, how long it's going to take you, who else is riding, and all the essential details. And then you have a map view on the right, which again, you click on a marker and it shows you the exact same thing. So when you go to, say you want to join a ride, so I join a ride with Sean White. I go to my message page and I'm then thrown in a group chat with Sean White and Chloe Kim in this example. Those are the other, Chloe is the other passenger in the ride, and we are able to chat and just hash out details. This is super important for me to add, just to make it very user friendly and realistic. I don't think anyone wants to jump in a car with someone they haven't at least chatted with. So that was the motivation behind this feature. So you can also post rides as well. Just post the necessary details. Your meeting spots are just park and ride lots that already exist just for user safety. And then you can see, I asked for miles per gallon, and I'll get to why I asked for that in a minute. But you can go ahead and post, and then you'll see your ride show up and you're ready to go. People can join at any time, and you can delete your ride if you change your mind, etc. So every Lifty user gets a profile. So this is completely customizable. Again, just adding a personal element to it, and the connection element. And then you can see as well that it shows all of your stats. So one thing I've learned from using my favorite app, Spotify, is that people love data. Like the Spotify Wrapped is everything. And it's just your behavior being churned back at you. So I wanted an element of that as well to show, that environmental impact side that I presented earlier, that by choosing to use our app, you are actively, positively contributing to the community that we lived in. And you can see I've done 4 rides. I've saved 410 pounds of carbon from being emitted. I don't know what that means. So I went ahead and converted those metrics into more digestible numbers. So how many hours you can run a snow machine, how many beers you can brew, how often can you run a brewery, how many trees planted is this equivalent to, all of that. And then again, kind of going along that collective impact train of thought, I wanted to put on here that regardless if you're a Lifty user or not, you can see the impact that this app is making. And so on this page, this is live updated every time someone joins a ride or posts a ride, and you can see what we do together. So next steps would be a lot of resorts belong to this National Ski Area Association and want to become more sustainable. So there is opportunities for partnership as well as longevity of the app of, could I partner with ski resorts for rewards or different things like that? That makes, that makes using Lifty an incentive for both the rider and the ski resorts that promote it. So that's Lifty in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions, but you can scan that. That's my LinkedIn, and would be happy to connect with anyone. So thanks for the time.
Beautiful. Keep that keep that slide up, Becca. Well done. What a unique and very impactful idea. I definitely haven't seen something like this come through before, so I was super excited to see such a fun and useful tool that someone created.
Thank you.
So well done. Someone posted a question, just kind of asking you to talk through the technologies that you used, your tech stack, and also maybe share kind of one of the biggest challenges that you had in building this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I used Python with Flask for the back end and JavaScript, React, and Tailwind CSS for the front end. I would say the biggest challenge was definitely writing those algorithms to calculate the carbon emissions. I had to do a lot of research. There are a lot of websites that have calculators. The EPA was one of them, Environmental Protection Agency, where you can type in your own data. So they also posted the math algorithm. So I had to kind of translate that into Python. And it was a fun challenge. I definitely was an opportunity to write tests to make sure those were all being calculated correctly. But I would say that was the biggest challenge, but also the most fun, knowing that it was something tangible that was actually happening, and the impact that it was actually making. So thanks for asking.
Totally. Got one more question. A couple of folks are wondering about the timeline that you had for building a project like this. Could you maybe talk through what that looked like and how long each kind of part of this project took?
Yeah, for sure. So we had a total of 2.5 weeks to get this done. I definitely spent most hours on the weekends during that 2 week time as well to do those features. Um, but I got good advice from one of our instructors of you don't just build the back end, the front end, and try to shove it together. You don't build a feature here, feature there, you know, and then try. That's where you run into problems. So he kind of suggested it's like building a car. First, you don't build the wheels, but you build a skateboard first, and then you build a bicycle, and then you build a car. So I couldn't give you exact timelines on like specific features, but that was kind of my mindset, and I'm thankful for that advice because the most important thing was getting that minimum viable product. And thankfully, I was able to add a few features at the end once I had it working how I wanted to.
Yeah, yeah, the MVP aspect I think is overlooked concept if you're maybe building something from scratch for the first time. It's almost like, you know, you're planting a tree where it's a small tree with a couple branches to start, and then with time it grows and there's more branches, more features. Yeah, that sort of idea. So yeah, thank you.
Totally.
Thank you for walking us through that.
Yeah,
Becca,
of course.
last question I got for you before we move on.
Mhm.
Quickly, could you just share your favorite part about working on the project?
Um, my favorite part, other than like pulling pictures of celebrity Olympians to be in this app, um, it was kind of a challenge. So on that map view, since I had specific locations, I only had like 8 locations that you could choose from as your starting point. That's where the markers on the map were placed. So I had to kind of include, and when I would add another ride from that same place, it would overlap the marker. So it was a fun challenge to kind of play with the latitude and longitude and how it was displayed on the front end to make sure those weren't overlapping and like erasing the data that existed. So that was the most fun. Again, just a challenge. I'm kind of a nerd in that way, just like to overcome those little things to make it as good of a product as it could be.
Awesome. Well said, Becca. All right, y'all, go ahead, drop into the chat, show Becca a little bit of love for kicking things off. It's hard to go first. So I'm going to give you some credit for that. I don't think you had a choice in going first. But Becca, would you also mind maybe dropping your LinkedIn and sharing that with everyone, or whatever way that folks could connect with you if they have follow-up questions? Awesome. Thank you, Becca. Next up, y'all, we have product design graduate Emma Hobley, who will be presenting Eater. Emma, take it away.
Hello. Thank you so much. Hey, so yeah, hi everyone. My name's Emma. I'm a recent product design graduate here at Flatiron, and I'm really excited to present my 3-week capstone project called Eater. So to start off, I would like you to picture this scenario, probably one that you're familiar with. You're ordering food online, you're overwhelmed by choice, and you're scrolling through hundreds of reviews. How do you know you can find something that you know you're going to enjoy? So this is the problem that my stakeholders, Nick and Michael, found themselves facing one evening. The solution they came to was asking their group of friends, where is good to order from around here? But it also sparked an idea. Obviously, being a product manager and a software engineer, the concept for a new food app called Eater was born. So here's what Nick and Michael assumed. Delivery app users trust food recommendations from their friends more than they trust the anonymous reviews. And that's when I stepped in as a product designer. My job was to do the research to verify if this assumption was actually true before redefining their problem statement and prioritizing some features for an MVP. So before I quickly walk through my design process, this is the original problem statement that we came up with together. Indecisive food delivery app users who don't fully trust the reviews need to know what their friends frequently order so they can choose a meal they're confident they will enjoy. Nick and Michael were also curious about how concerned users are with getting the cheapest deal across all of the different apps, but that was just a secondary question for now. So I began with competitive research to analyze the types of features users would expect and to identify any gaps to explore in the market. I looked at DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub Seamless, which you've likely heard of, along with Belly, Truffle, and Foodboss, which you may not have. So just very briefly, Belly and Truffle, these are social platforms centered around visiting restaurants rather than food delivery. You can find, track, and share your favorite restaurants with friends. And Foodboss is purely a price aggregation site. So I looked into this one with that secondary question about pricing in mind, but I will go into that a little bit more later. So during that analysis, I learned that there was a gap in the market for a social food delivery app. Users were raving about how good Belly is, for example, for finding recommendations using your own friends' ratings. I also noticed that the delivery apps had different features from social apps like Belly. There wasn't really that much crossover. So we would need to determine what Eater's focus would be between those two concepts. So now was time to engage with users to better understand their experience of ordering food online. Nick, Michael, and I held a workshop and agreed on our research criteria together. We wanted to survey habitual users, so the people that order at least once a month. And we decided that we wanted to ask them how they decided what they wanted, what were their pain points, and were the reviews as meaningful as their friends' opinions. So I posted that all over social media, and 53 people in our target range took the survey of quantitative questions. So that data would reveal more behavioral patterns to test whether people value their opinions of their friends more than reviews. And then I interviewed 3 habitual food delivery users for more qualitative insights, so more about people's behaviors and feelings. This would add detail and context to the steps that users actually take to order food and highlight any problems they face. So the results actually marked a turning point in the project. My stakeholders' assumption was correct. 71% of people surveyed said they would value their friends' reviews more than anonymous ratings. But we also uncovered another unexpected problem. 47% of users said they go to the effort of comparing prices across apps. And 56% of people said this was difficult or very difficult to do. So this brought that concept of finding the cheapest deal to the forefront when it was initially just a secondary idea. So I went on to conduct 3 user interviews with habitual food delivery users. I learned users find it really time-consuming to weigh up reviews, but they do still find them useful. Friends' opinions do influence where users choose to eat, but no one actually said that they use that method whilst in the moment of ordering delivery. And users found it hard to keep track of restaurant recommendations that they wanted to share with their friends. So most people would say they shared it on TikTok and then it kind of just got lost forever. So just to circle back to my job as a designer, circling back, the ultimate goal of this sprint was to redefine this original problem statement based on the insights from my research. The new problem statement was twofold. So now involved indecisive, cost-conscious food delivery app users that need a tool to surface trusted advice from friends and assure them they're getting the best possible price so they can quickly decide on an order they're confident they will enjoy. My last step was to run a features workshop with Nick to create a priority matrix. So for the MVP, we agreed the app would take the form of an aggregator to compare prices and then redirect people to the cheapest deal. We need an add friends feature and a feed for recent reviews from your friends. So to wrap up, working with these real stakeholders for the first time really forced me to advocate for the user and that problem that we were really trying to solve, whilst balancing these factors with the stakeholders' own vision. And our next steps are going to be user testing in Midfi to find out whether people actually do find their friends' reviews helpful in the process, and then creating a hi-fi mock-up to present to potential backers. And that is the story of Eater so far.
Awesome. Well done, Emma. What a cool project.
Thank you so much.
If anyone has any questions for Emma, go ahead, hit the Q&A button, send them there. I actually have a question for you, Emma, while we're waiting for people to formulate their thoughts. As someone who is maybe kind of going through this process as a designer for the first time, could you talk a little bit more about when you came to that roadblock and you had to you had that unexpected roadblock come in, and maybe like how do you and the stakeholders kind of like choose the next course of action to mitigate that roadblock?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first of all, because that roadblock kind of came in the form of like the pricing element, right? So it was this unexpected behavior that we didn't think people would be doing. Like I don't do that when I order off of Seamless, I just order off of Seamless. So I think actually at first I was like, oh no, this means that we're focusing on entirely the wrong thing. This is a terrible idea. But having spoken to, first of all, my mentor, and then with the two stakeholders, it's actually a really good, worthwhile thing. And it obviously reshapes the problem in the end. It ended up being part of what we were actually aiming for with the research, which was to find out what the most important problem was. So yeah, that actually was a big learning for me, not to see it as this like, breaking point for the project of like, oh, let's just leave it. This isn't the right problem. It was more like, okay, cool. And now we respond to this thing that we have, which is actually really useful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and truly just taking it to like strengthen your research and have more of a grounding in like the end goal, I think is like a key skill to be able to employ. So awesome. Got a couple of questions for you. Could you talk about how you found people to survey? Someone's wondering if you kind of just use your personal social media or any other channels.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think for this example, we were lucky enough to be trying to survey like quite a broad range of people. Like quite a lot of people would be like, yeah, that applies to me. Like it's not really, really niche. So yes, I did post it across my social media. I really like delved very deep into Reddit, which I like hadn't really used before, but I found that really useful. So yeah, my advice would be to use Reddit, use Facebook groups as well. Like look for the specific groups of people that you're looking to ask. There was a couple of people in my cohort that were looking for teachers or like quite specific groups of people. There are also a lot of Reddit groups that will do like an exchange. So if you're struggling to get people to take your survey, the exchange groups, you basically just say, look, I'll take yours if you take mine, basically. So yeah, it was those two ways primarily.
Awesome. And then kind of going a little deeper into collecting this data, Elizabeth would love to hear more about the types of questions you pursued while generating your qualitative data.
Yeah, that's a good question. I kept it very open. And the plan that I had was kind of held quite loosely in the end. Like you get talking to people and the conversation kind of meanders. But generally I wanted to know, I just wanted people to talk me through all of the little details of their steps of the process, first of all. Even if you don't think that it's like key information, sometimes, you know, you might hook something out of, you know, a certain step someone takes or a problem they come up against. So it was primarily that. And then I don't know, you have to be quite careful, like not to introduce any kind of bias or like spin the conversation into like, what kind of features would you like to see? Or like, what kind of features do you not like? Because like, that's not ultimately that helpful. It just needed to remain like kind of open, and be more about like, and what do you do then? And what do you do then? And just try to encourage people to like go into detail. Like that's really the most helpful thing.
Awesome. We have a couple more questions, but I want to be mindful of time. So if we have time at the very end, we can revisit the questions that are in the Q&A, Emma, or if you want to, when you're kind of backstage, you're able to type out some of the answers in the Q&A box. But we're gonna keep moving on, folks. Give Emma some love in the chat. Emma, let them know in the chat where they can reach out, connect, ask any follow-up questions. All right.
Sure.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next up, I am excited to invite Lucy Kaiser-Brill, software engineering graduate, to present her project objective.
Hi, so I'm gonna share. So thank you everyone for being here. My name is Lucy Kaiser-Brill and I am a full stack developer. I'm a mother of two and I used to be an educator for 15 years, which is the reason why my idea about Objective came to life. So it's a student-centered goal-setting app. And it's addressing like 3 important observations that I made as a teacher, but also as a parent. So I'll show you this. You've probably heard that teachers are very burned out right now and that a lot of them are quitting, and it's due to those 3 main reasons. So student behavior and lack of engagement, the over or under involvement of parents, and the low salary that they have with a constant need to spend money out of their own pocket. What is on the market right now, what I've seen in classrooms, are either physical behavior trackers. So you can see those 2 examples. They're great for kids because they give like an immediate feedback. The kids know where they stand, like they have those little colored cards. But there is no communication with parents usually. There is just like, if it gets really bad for multiple days in a row, like there is a letter sent to the house, but parents don't know what happens. And it's very punitive. So when kids are on the red, everybody knows they have a red card and everything. What is more interesting to me and probably to you are the online apps that are used currently. So the biggest one is ClassDojo. It's a huge company. They make a lot of money. And that's what teachers use mainly. So this one that you can see on my screen is my daughter's. So I get emails, a lot of emails, multiple emails a day, and I can access some reports, but I don't have any information about what she did. Like most of the time I can see that she's given points at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, but I don't know anything. So I can't reinforce And when I ask her what she did to get points, she has no idea. So the idea is great, the graphics, it's fun, but I don't have any information. And same thing, like she has points, but it's up to the teacher to have rewards that she can give or that the kids can use their points for. So my app that I created is objective. You have 4 different users. You can be a student, obviously, a parent, a teacher, or a business owner from a local company. The way it works, I'll show you here, is the parents sign up. When they sign up, they say how many kids they're going to want to register. So the kids are registered by the parents, which creates a relationship between the kid and the parents. So the kid belongs to a parent. Now the parent has their 2 kids that are signed up, and on the kid's first visit, there is a fun feature, they can create their own avatar. And then they're going to link their profile to their teacher or coach profile. So now they belong to both a parent and a teacher. So my first goal was for the student to really be the one to create a goal. They're not told to do something, they create something themselves. So they're more involved in the process. They create SMART goals. So they have a form and they're guided through a SMART goal. So SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So they don't have those goals of I'll do better or I'll never speak ever again, I promise. It's real goals that make sense. My second goal was to have a very, very clear communication between the home and the school. There's a lot of times where teachers see some behaviors and parents say it never happens at school or vice versa. I think I just got an email from my son's social study teacher. So saying we're like a 3-legged school. It takes all 3 of us, parent, student, and teacher, to remain standing. And I thought that was great. So in my app, the kids sets the goals, but the teacher and the parent both have to validate the goals so they can access them. And they read the goal and they can either just validate it or add a message so that the kids can revisit the goal. For example, like they give their goal a value, so they might just give too many stars or too little. So in my example, the kid had a very hard goal and the parent is like, you can probably put more stars. Then the teacher on their side see the goal too, and here they're asking like more info on how the kid will reach the goal. So now the kid is signing up, he's seeing that his goal hasn't been validated, reads the messages, and he can update the goal. So he's going to go into this updating form, change the number of stars. He's going to explain a little more how he's going to train and submit his goal. He's adding a message to the parent and the teacher saying, hey, I updated my goal. Can you please validate it? And now the parent and the teacher can validate. So the goal is the stars are red when it's not validated. They turn orange when it has been validated by one person, and then green when the kid can do it. My third and final goal was to work on the rewards, to have teachers not spend as much money just buying little pieces of junk, to be honest. Like they're piling up in my house. And teachers just like blow their school budget and just for rewards. So the way it works, and that's where the local business owners also come in, it's the, I took to heart the one person's trash is another person's treasure. Everyone has like games or books or anything that is at home that is still in a great shape, but that they don't use anymore. And so the parents can post those items to the marketplace, and business owners can also post like a $5 gift card or anything, and it's good, it promotes their business. So this is the marketplace. As a parent, and only as a parent, not the teachers and not the kids, I can post an item, I can set the price, say how many stars it's going to be worth, and decide where the kid can pick it up. So it just shows on the kids marketplace if they can pick it up at their own school. So once the kid has finished their goal, they just say, hey, I'm done. And parents and teacher have to agree together that the goal has been achieved. And so they each own half of the goal's value. So if I'm the parent and I'm like, yeah, I've seen that at home, I can pay 2.5 if the goal's value was 5. And the teacher on their side can do the same thing. So as a kid, I can now go on the marketplace. If I don't have enough money, I can't buy the item. But if I can, I just like buy it. My wallet goes back like minus the value of the goal, and I can pick my item up at school. So the teacher never had to spend any money. Those are the technologies I used. The biggest challenge was that I had 4 different users. And so I always had to check for everyone. So I used a single table inheritance. And the custom CSS, I wanted to do custom to learn how to do CSS. As far as the 4 different users, I'm very glad I did it. I learned a lot. Custom CSS, never again. I will import the pre-built components from an online library. What's next? I need to polish the design. I'm going to start trials with the school district. I used to be a teacher, so I have a lot of contacts, and everyone has expressed like a lot of interest for it. And I want to develop 2 different versions. So for elementary age student, make it like more fun, have emojis, less writing. And for upper grades, have the possibility to link a kid to multiple teachers because they don't have like a single class teacher. So thank you very much. Merci. That was my project.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lucy. That was great. Again, another project we're seeing where, it's addressing like a real world issue. And you're taking kind of the skills that you learned in your program with a little bit of your past life mixed in. Did you kind of know yourself, like leading up to this capstone project, that like, oh, I want to tie in some of my like previous background and experience into this personal project of mine?
I mean, that's why I went into software engineering. It's as a teacher, I mean, I've seen a lot of what we use in class, and I don't like most of it. I worked for a ed tech company at one point, and I was just like a coach for teachers on how to use the products, the softwares, and they had questions. I knew the questions they had. So I was kind of like the link in between, and I wanted to understand software engineering more. That's the product I did. Like, it's something I would have liked to have in the classroom. So
Awesome. I was going to ask this, and I'm glad to see it's on the what's next portion, but I am wondering having multiple teachers for upper grades, like what are some other ideas, if you have any off the top of your head, about how to create something like this for maybe like middle or high school or more advanced levels?
I think, I mean, the version I have is if you take maybe the graphics off, because it's more elementary school, older kids could use it. Even doing this, it helped me as just like an adult to be like, when I have a goal, I try to set it the same way, like follow this, the SMART goals. But I think the way it is set, except for having multiple teachers that can access like one kid, would work for high school.
Yeah.
It's more, I think I have more work to do for lower grades to really make it like kids friendly, where they could just choose more, like, but it's the graphics and everything will take some time. And maybe for the upper grades, like the avatar thing, or like mature, or maybe manga or something like that.
Totally. All right, y'all. If any other questions come through for Lucy, we'll be sure to either answer them asynchronously or address them at the end. But we got 2 more projects to look at. So I am going to thank Lucy for her time and for her presentation. Go ahead, show her some love in the chat. And Lucy, if you can go ahead and if you have a way that you would like folks to connect with you or get in touch, please also drop it in the chat there. Next up, we are going to be hearing from another product design graduate, Imbal Goldman, who will be presenting their project Lemonade.
Hello, everyone, and my name is Imbal Goldman. I'm a product designer. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to share my final project. The name is Lemony, and it's a financial literacy application. So a brief overview of the project. I was asked to design a financial literacy app for children.
Indo, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Would you
Sure.
mind, we can't see your screen.
Uh-oh, thank you for reminding me.
Of course.
Good,
Perfect.
thank you. So as I said, was asked to design a financial literacy app for children. The problem space that I was specifically solving towards was that parents of 10 to 12-year-olds who needed help teaching their children what is money, budgeting, saving, investing, and entrepreneurship. The parents wanted to see results and evaluate their child's comprehension in order to prepare the child for a successful future. My goal was to make the course clear with transparency into teacher and class reviews, making booking easy, and provide parents with helpful resources into financial literacy. I also wanted this to be engaging for the children. My role was a multi-hat role, focused mainly on user experience and user research, but this also included project management, interviews and surveying, research and analysis, synthesis of the data, hypothesis of the best experience, sitemap design, MVP planning, prototype design, as well as testing. And as I mentioned, my target audience were the parents and the children themselves. I interviewed and surveyed approximately 10 users, as well as conducted research competitive analysis on 6 direct and indirect competitors. I identified common goals and emotions, as well as key insights, which during a user interview, I discovered that children with autism benefit most from reward and point incentives. And so I hypothesized that by creating a score system through a game-like experience, the children would gain hands-on practice of complex financial lessons and maintain interest. Using a SWOT analysis on 5 direct competitors allowed me to identify useful tools such as teachers' bios and class reviews. And then I wanted to get an analysis of an interactive app, so I did a SWOT on Duolingo, which is known for features such as streaks and rewards. However, because of my strong belief in digital well-being, I did not feel comfortable adding addictive features to a children's learning app. I wanted to see if these feelings were just a personal bias or actually shared by my users, and so I conducted a survey. The results supported my theory, and so I decided to avoid addictive features altogether. I began to then craft a solution. I synthesized common themes and developed a user persona to empathize with. I proceeded to do a jobs to be done framework to identify core tasks for both the children and the parents. This helped me further identify key user goals. And for example, these were the need for promoting entrepreneurial projects in their children, the child independent comprehension, verified teacher and alumni reviews, hands-on learning experiences, a teaching experience that is focused, engaging, and supportive of the child's comprehension, as well as for the child to have motivations into participating, such as peer recognition, interactive learning, and auditory feedback. After reflecting on my user goals, I designed a sitemap and proceeded to do quick rounds of low fidelity sketches. I identified screens that best align with visually with the solution and the experience that I'm envisioning. And I proceeded to design a mid-fidelity prototype and then test my hypothesis and prototype via usability test. And I had to then adjust accordingly. The result, Lemony, was born. I designed the app to have seamless booking experience for parents, making core tasks logically and intuitively available in their user journeys, with clear navigation and useful features such as flexible course booking and resources on financial literacy. I provided transparent reviews on teachers and classes, and the best part was I integrated the Lemony game. Through Lemony, children could gain points by taking courses and passing tests. These points could then be used to either shop for avatar accessories, save points, donate points by transferring to other students or planting lemon trees, invest points through the Lemony stocks, or opening up lemonade stands as entrepreneurs. For the purposes of meeting the initial MVP, the interactive features would be added at a later sprint. However, they were designed into the dashboard. And in conclusion, Lemony was a great opportunity to design a fun application. Using research to identify key insights allowed me to design this engaging and educational experience for my users. My next steps would be to implement the current sprint into a high-fidelity prototype and retest with the users. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present my final project, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well done, Inbel. That was so interesting and so well presented. If anyone has questions about Lemony, go ahead, drop them in the Q&A. Inbel, I have a question for you. I'm wondering, there are many different parts of the design process. And I'm sure you've taken time during your program to learn and almost master different components. I'm wondering, as you're learning and becoming a product designer, is there any part of the process that you enjoy most? And also maybe if there's any part that you find most challenging.
So I have over 14 years of experience as a graphic designer, an art director. So as far as the UI portion, I find it very similar. And even though it is very interesting to me, it's not as kind of like a new frontier, if you will. For me, the most enjoyable part of this program was partially the research and partially the just really crafting an experience that is useful to the users. And I see it on a daily basis with my previous work history, is that you really want to know what's driving the user, what is their reasons and their thinking, and how do you best support it. And that's where the user experience really goes into it. So that was my favorite for sure.
Yeah, there's almost like this kind of psychological component too, which I think is so interesting, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool, awesome. I got a question from Elizabeth in the Q&A. Who asks, how are you creating the link between lemons and teaching financial literacy in your users' minds?
So obviously I would have to at some point get the app to be designed in the UI level, but really it's almost like the story of money doesn't grow on trees or lemon grows on trees. There was a connection for me at some point, and I really wanted to hone in on the ability for them to kind of pluck the right fruit and to grow as entrepreneurs. And then it because I have young kids, the idea of how do you get kids to start up as entrepreneurs? You make them do a lemonade stand. So it all somehow connected in my head.
Yeah. My quick anecdote, my mom always said that if she saw kids with a lemonade stand too early in the summer, that meant that they didn't do enough during the summer. Lemonade stands are like, if you really have something to give the kids to do, throw them out, give them a lemonade stand. Anyway, I like the nostalgia aspect of that. Beautiful. If any other questions come up for Inbel, we'll do our best to get to them, but I do want to make sure we have plenty of time for our final presenter. So again, thank you, Inbel. show her some love in the chat as we have been. And also go ahead and share your contact info or your LinkedIn so folks can connect with you after the event.
Sure, thank you.
Beautiful. All right, folks, we are going to wind down with Emmy Lindsay, who is a software engineering grad presenting her project Crossword. Emmy, share your screen. And
Cool.
take it away.
Thank you, Rochelle. Okay. Let me get everything going here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Cool. Okay, hey everybody, my name is Emmy. I live in Denver and I went to the Denver Live Campus software engineering program, just graduated about a month ago. I obviously, when you decide what you're going to build your final project on, there's so much cool stuff out there that you can do, as we've seen. And for me, I decided I wanted to do something that I was going to have. Obviously, it's fun to build all kinds of different stuff, but I wanted to maybe make it a little more lighthearted and create something it would be more on the fun side of things and less on the impactful side of things, I guess. Anyway, I love word games. And so I eventually landed on creating a crossword puzzle. I don't know if anybody else out there does this, but I love doing all the New York Times puzzles every day. Specifically, the mini crossword is really fun. And that was kind of the inspo. I wanted to make like a mock New York Times crossword app. It's not exactly like theirs, but that's kind of the inspo, especially for the design. I wanted it to be black and white, sleek, classic, timeless. So that's where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to demo it for you. There's the meat is in the functionality here. So this is what you see when you log in. Basically, as a user, you've got two options. It's very simple. You can create a new crossword puzzle, or you can solve one that you have already created. We'll just go ahead and create one right now. We're going to edit one that I have already begun. We'll go down to new puzzle number 4. So this is essentially what took me the longest. This grid right here is where we will add our words. Just for everybody's curious, I used React for my front end, and each of these cells is an individual React component and has its own state, and that's how we decide what letters and numbers go where. But essentially what you do if we want to add a word is first you're going to select cells as instructed here. So maybe we want to put a word, let's see. Maybe we want a word starting with E, and we're going to make it, I don't know, 6 letters, whatever. So you select these cells. Maybe you already have a word in mind that would fit there, and that's great. If you do, you can start typing it here, and that word will appear in the cells. If you don't have a word in mind that fits, something kind of cool I thought would be fun is if you can get suggestions. So what we're going to do is hit this button, get word suggestions, and there's 2 things happening as this is loading. So the first thing is that there's this website called Best Word List, which if you've ever Googled like 6-letter word starting with E, that's the website that comes up. And so we're using a web scraping tool called Beautiful Soup to scrape Best Word List and find all the words that fit in this exact spacing. Based on the way it's written, you can find something that starts with E. You could have found something that has E as the 3rd letter. There's lots of that's just the spacing can be whatever you've selected. That's the first thing that's happening. Second thing that happens is that we are taking all the results from Best Word List, picking a few random ones, and then searching something called the Words API, which I'm going to show you this window. Is this API that has basically every word in the English language, and it's got all different information about each word in the English language, like definitions, synonyms. One of the things it has is this thing called frequency, and it gives you a number called per million, which is essentially in a random assortment of words pulled from English language documents, how many times would we see that word in a million words? And so this number is a threshold of how common is that word. And so what I did is sorted words by their per million number. So like in this case, the threshold numbers are greater than 1 is an easy word, between 1 and 0.1 is a medium word, and then less than 0.1 is a hard word. So I'd say this is pretty accurate. I don't know how frequently I see elephants, but so you never know what you're gonna get. But anyway, so here's our options. And at this point, I could decide what I wanted to use. I like the word embalm. That's kind of creepy. That's a good crossword puzzle word though. So you type it in here, the letters appear. And then at this point, if you have a clue in your head that you think is a good clue for the crossword, you can just type it in here and confirm and you're good to go. But if you don't have a clue in mind, you can use this tool, which is going to use the OpenAI API integration to get a clue for whatever word you've typed. Oh, I just realized I spelled this wrong. Embalm. There we go. Okay, let's get glue suggestion and see what it says. This can be kind of, sometimes the AI is a little bit funny. So this one's funny, let's keep it. We'll hit use clue. Use clue inserts the clue into our field here, we'll confirm. And then we got the word added and the clue added. And you can see the little number appears here in the corner. That honestly was one of the toughest things, was getting the number to appear correctly. One other thing I want to demonstrate is that the numbers are dynamic. So whenever you look at a crossword puzzle, the top left numbers will be the lowest and they will grow as we go to the bottom right. So right now, our topmost leftmost letter is right here. But if I were to add another word here, it's going to dynamically move the 1 to this new word cat and move the clues as well. I thought that was important for the crossword feel. Okay, so that's the functionality there. We're going to save and exit. And now we've built that puzzle and we're going to go ahead and solve it. We'll see what it looks like when you solve it anyway. So we'll go solve. That one was puzzle number 4. You can rename these two, by the way, but just for time's sake, I won't show all that. And then this is what it looks like when you solve it. So how this works is you can type in, again, you're going to select cells and then type in your guess. Even if you're wrong, it's still going to display the letters that you have guessed. And then once you've filled everything in, you can click check accuracy and it's going to tell you whether you've got all of them right or whether there's something wrong. Right now, there's empty squares. So I have designed it so that you cannot check your answers until it's full, which I believe is the right way to do a crossword. But yeah, okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I know we're right at time, but yeah, that's essentially the functionality.
All right, Emmy, that was so cool.
Thanks.
I love the snarkiness about like, hey, you shouldn't be checking the answers yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize I had that opinion until we got there.
The things you learn doing a coding bootcamp.
So true. Yeah.
Awesome. If anyone has questions, I see a couple coming in. All right. And you were on campus in the campus program. So I'm assuming your timeline for building this was similar to Becca's, where you had about 2.5 weeks to
Yeah, I think we had 3. Sometimes people run into holidays, so maybe Becca had a holiday,
Yeah.
which would be unfortunate, but we had about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan or any ideas for sharing puzzles among users?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's my next step. Right now, you can only solve your own puzzles, which is kind of lame because you know the answers. So the next step is to be able to send somebody a link to a puzzle and they can fill it out and they haven't built it. So that is in the works.
Beautiful. Report back
Yeah.
when that's live, because
I
a lot
will.
of people are interested in it. Sweet. So Elizabeth is hitting us up saying
The web scraping, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a valid question, Elizabeth. I will tell you, my internet is quite slow right now. I'm actually abroad. I'm in Taipei. And so this hotel Wi-Fi is hanging on for dear life. It is still slow with good Wi-Fi, but it takes about like 4 to 5 seconds. So it's not that quick. The reason it's so slow is from the API fetching. It's not the web scraping. So the solution here would be to save all of the web scraping results in some kind of array and then just save them and keep pulling when we're looking through the Words API. I just didn't build it like that. But yeah, good question and something I've been thinking about for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Emmy, did you have any, like in kind of building out this process, you have an idea at the beginning and you want to execute it. And of course, like you get in the weeds and like, there's just so much to accomplish in such a short time. Did you have any specific, like maybe breakthrough or like aha moments in going through this process?
Good question. That's a fun question. Yeah, I started the grid, just like the way the grid works was the most difficult part. And I started creating the grid using React Canvas, which is like it's for art. And I was like, oh, I'm creating a shape. It's a grid. I need it to be art. And I was kind of trying to make that work for a little bit. I don't even know if I can call this a breakthrough because literally in the first hour, I was like, no. It was just so, React Canvas tries to be very artistic. And so the lines weren't the same. I don't know the right word for it. They were different kinds of black, like they were too artsy. Anyway, so when I started using the grid is just like straight up CSS, like borders are solid. So when I did that I would call that a breakthrough. That just made everything exponentially easier. Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that answer.
Yeah, fun question.
All right, Emmy, go ahead, drop your contact info in the chat so you can keep us updated on the future of Crossword. We're all very excited
Totally.
to see it.
Yes. Although if
Um,
you are not a New York Times puzzle doer, I highly recommend. They're so fun and they're free. The mini one is free anyway, if
You
you're a
know,
crossword person.
I'm still in my family Wordle chat and I haven't done Wordle
Dang.
they're all on it. I just
Oh,
I
gotcha.
cheerlead.
I hear you. Yeah, I took like a
they're all
2-year
smart enough.
hiatus, but we're back.
Awesome. Well, that is all the time we have for this evening. Thank you everyone who came out and who supported. Thank you for folks for asking really awesome questions. And most importantly, thank you, Becca, Emma, Lucy, Imbel, and Emmy for taking some time out of their day to show off their final projects. So whatever path is next for all y'all, we're very excited to see where that takes you. And again, we host this event every single month. So I hope that if you're interested in seeing more projects or maybe interested in being one of these students one day, that you check out our upcoming events, and you can always reach out to us and any questions that you have about our programs. We are more than happy to share that information with you. So again, my name is Michelle Pathé. I'm a community manager at Flatiron School, and I hope to cross paths with y'all at a virtual event soon. Take it easy, y'all.